Hey everyone, welcome back to iHeart Sports Power Rankings. We are just finishing up Jackie Robinson weekend in the MLB. Another team has gotten COVID. There's quite a few doubleheaders as per usual throughout the week. Some craziness, things like that, but we're here. Most teams past the halfway mark, playoff picture starting to be put together. I think I'm going to do a little preview of if the playoffs start today or sometime this week. So if you want to check that out, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll be able to see that when it comes to fruition. Playoff picture's starting to shape up here. So bottom row, well, we're going to start things off with that. These are pretty much teams that they're donezo at this point. Not going to really go much farther in the season. And most of these teams they've been here for most of the weeks so far. So kicking things off, we got the Pittsburgh Pirates, number 30. They're the worst team in the MLB. They've had a little bit of a more fortunate week. I think they're actually won this week, more games than they lost. However, they still have the worst win percentage in the league. So got them tattooed there. If they have another week like they just had, they might finally get out of the bottom. Let's hope for the Pirate fans out there that might be possible. 29, we still got the LA Angels. They didn't have the worst week in the world, but they still have the second worst win percentage in the league. And they didn't show me anything to really move them up. They're still struggling. And at this point, they're pretty much out of it. So I think they're pretty concrete there. Number 28, division foe of the Angels, we got the Texas Rangers. Rangers, ever since they came out and said, they talked smack when Slam Diego came up to bat, hit grand slam after grand slam against them. Their manager came out, said, "Why are you hitting grand slams against us?" Just that mentality is really starting to show up with this team. So 28, they've really fallen apart since then. Number 27, and I don't think it can get much worse for the Washington Nationals. The reigning champs have just had an awful season. Really, they lost some players in the offseason, but that's not really the whole story. They got off to a slow start. Scherzer's really their only highlight of the season so far. Strasburg's out. They just can't seem to get anything going. And at this point, I would consider them all but out of it. Number 26, they're only up a little bit higher because they've been beaten up on the Nationals this weekend. They got smacked up when they had Scherzer on the mound, but other than that, they look like they've packed it in. For majority of the season, they've looked like they've packed it in. And it shows. They're out of it at this point. Number 25, and they free fell a lot this week, the Diamondbacks. 1-9 in their last 10. They had a rough start at the beginning. They showed some life for a little bit of time, and then it all came halting to an end. I would say at this point they're out of it. That's 3 Western teams pretty much cut out of it at this point. And 24 probably can say the same thing. We got the Seattle Mariners. One thing I do like about them compared to some of these other teams is they at least fight every game they're in. They're taking games off the Dodgers. They're not getting swept. They're putting up fights, and I think even though they traded Taijuan Walker, they're gonna ride out the season and have something to look forward to in Seattle. Number 23, we got the Cincinnati Reds. This is where the cutoff really is right now. These teams have a chance to make the playoffs, but if they keep having poor weeks, they're gonna soon the cutoff point's slowly gonna move forward, right? They're lucky they're in the Central. They're still in the fight. There's 3 teams fighting for that second spot in the Central and the NL. Second spot's really up for grabs with the Cubs with a somewhat pretty good lead to at least take one of those spots, and having a good series against Cincinnati over the weekend. Number 22, same story. Milwaukee Brewers. They lost again today, a game they need to win against the Pirates, but they're in the hunt. They're right in the mix with Cincinnati, and in the Central. Anyone can go here. 21, and they've been falling ever since I gave them mad props. They had an amazing beginning of the season. What can we really say? It was amazing. But they've come back down to earth. They've lost 5 straight now. And really, we've probably seen the best of the Orioles. They're in that mix. They still have a fight, but they need to turn things around because it's sinking quickly. 20, Kansas City Royals. I just think they're better than these teams behind them. They might not have as good of a chance to make the playoffs as these possible teams here, but they've played stronger. They've been putting up fights. They've always been that tough sweep. Like, you're not sweeping this team very easily. They're at least gonna give you 1 run for your money and take a game off you. So they showed that with the White Sox this past weekend. Number 19, got the Miami Marlins. I can't tell if the doubleheaders and all that are catching up to them. They've lost 4 straight now. Eventually, I guess they're not going to have as many doubleheaders. They're catching up in amount of games played, so they might get more full games. But really, the doubleheaders might have worked to their advantage. They're just falling slowly. I think that's a pretty justified 19th place for the Marlins. 18, I got the Mets. It seems like AL Easts are coming up here. Mets had, they had a rough night tonight. They lost both the Yankees. They were winning the first game, and then it blew it. They're higher than I've had them in the past, so they're turning the corner. They're not quite in the playoff spot. If they want to be part of the conversation, they need to have a monster week. They can't keep having these even keel weeks. They need a monster week. This is me giving them a chance. This next week is going to speak a lot for the future of the New York Mets. Philadelphia Phillies, 5 straight they've won. Sunday Nighter's going on right now. It's close. I really thought Philly had blown it. Last I looked, they were within a couple runs again. But they've been hot, and they've put themselves right back in the picture for that second spot in the AL East. Don't count them out. They're getting hot at the right time. Pitching, Arrieta looked rough today. So if they can get some more consistency from some of their guys, there definitely will be a threat going forward to move up. Number 16, the Rockies. A lot of people might have them a little bit lower at this point. They had such a great start that really catapulted them in, if you've been following, to be strong with that. They had a strong start, really falling apart. Their bullpen's been atrocious this past week, and they're hanging on by a thread in a playoff spot. So till things start to turn around, they're heading in the wrong direction in this competitive West. So we got to keep that in mind too. Number 15, winners of 5 straight. The Detroit Tigers. Wow, this team. Hot, super bad, hot again. Right in the hunt. They're in the hunt. They're in the hunt for that last playoff spot in the American League. And yeah, they took up some big wins this past weekend. And I guess earlier in the week too, winning the doubleheaders, winning. So Tiger fans gotta be ecstatic that they're having a shot, and really I think gonna come down to their starting pitchers. If the pitchers can get them the wins they need, then I think they might have a chance at this playoff spot. But that Central is very compact, and we'll get to it in a little bit. Number 14, San Francisco Giants. These guys just will not go away, and I believe they're hanging on to a playoff spot as of this second. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And it's been a common theme of what I've said back in the past when they've been slowly climbing. They're fighting for every game. Much like Kansas City, they're pulling off wins, though. I think that's the difference. They're around 500, making a push for playoff spot. And honestly, if they can beat up on some of these crappy West teams that are demoralized and take those wins, I think that they could squeeze past Colorado and get in. Do have 2 much stronger teams ahead of them, but wild cards up for grabs. 13, I got the Cardinals. They are slowly getting back into the swing of things after coming back from their COVID break. 7-3, no. 5-5 in their last 10 since really coming back. That's not going to be good enough to keep this going. One of these other two teams are on their tails and will get hot if they don't. This is giving them the benefit of the doubt. They're going to ramp things up. I think they're the better team than those other ones. So it's going to be an important week. I'm not 100% sure who they're playing this week, but I'm sure it's going to be at least one series. It's going to be super important. And all of them are going to be going through really down the stretch here. There's only like 10 series left, right? So everyone's going to be important. And this is the surprise of the board. Toronto Blue Jays, my Toronto Blue Jays are on fire yet again. And honestly, we're getting excited up here. They've won 4 straight. They won 6 straight before that. They've climbed. Honestly, the teams below here, they're getting the wins they need on them that are below them. They're struggling with the teams up ahead, and we'll talk about one of them at the very top. But honestly, they picked up Taijuan Walker. There are possibly a lot of trades going on right now. We don't know. Maybe they'll pick up someone else, but they're at least in the talk to be a threat in the postseason. I think they've established now that they are going to take that postseason spot. Unless the wheels fall off, I think we can pretty much guarantee it at this point. Number 11, Atlanta Braves. This is the top of the NL East. Number 11. So that just goes to show, like, even though they're leading this division, they have a long ways to go before we're talking about them being a World Series contender. Sure, they can still do it. Sure, they beat teams below them. They beat the Jays. They can beat teams below them. They get in these matches, and it's going on right now Sunday night, where they runs and runs and runs. They can't expect to win the postseason that way. So for now, 11th. Number 10, Chicago Cubs. I think a lot of people are counting the Cubs out right now. I don't really know why. They're leading their division. They're on pace to probably take the top seed in their division, barring like a little bit of a spurt on either way. But their pitching has just been spectacular. The only issue with Tyler Chatwood, we saw him leave the game today. He's had past Tommy John issues, so we're not sure the outcome of that yet. But Yu Darvish, Hendricks, Lester, they've been here before. They're ready to do it. I expect them to really stay competitive in that NL Central. Number 9, and this is a little bit of a climb. The Chicago White Sox. I'm waiting a little bit to move them up any further. I'm waiting. That outbreak is happening, and there's teams ahead of them that are struggling. And this next week is going to really speak whether they can be a top of the board kind of team, or if they're going to be like outside of it. They've been on fire. The Chicago White Sox. They rebounded from Kansas City, lost, pick up the win, 8-2 in their last 10. Played the Cubs. I think there are a lot of things to be happy about. If they make any moves on this trade deadline, they'll be a threat in the Central. And right now I have them as 3rd best team in the Central. 2 teams to go, one of them being lost 5 in a row, Minnesota Twins, slowly falling. They've kind of struggled on offense this year. There's been a lot of times where they're struggling on offense. The pitching hasn't been able to get them through. First series of the week, Twins versus White Sox. They're basically battling for 8th. Lose too many, you're dropping a little bit down. I'm giving the White Sox a little bit benefit of the doubt. And this is their challenge. Welcome to the big leagues. Welcome to the heavyweight. Are you ready to throw down? That's what the series is going to tell me if they're serious contenders or not. Number 7. This team to me has been quiet. Lucky that it's been quiet. Lucky that there's been no fans. Because they're quietly 2nd place in the AL West. Quietly almost 600. Quietly picking up wins. They can be a threat. Verlander's been out though, so pitching might come down to be the issue. But right now we can't count them out. World Series champions, cheaters or not, they've been there before. And they seem to be turning on right at the right time. Oakland and that had some COVID issues, so we didn't get to see them play today. And honestly, that's where we're at with them. Number 6, and probably reacted a bit too much earlier with the Mets games. They were pretty much lost. They've been a little bit losing. I know they have injuries, so that's kind of what's keeping them at top 5 for me at this point. But at the same time, they do have the stars, and we need them to rebound. They need to show a sign of that they're still ready. Because right now they have a charging Jays team on their butt, and they better be ready. Number 5, I got the Slam Diego Padres. Killing it. They lost one game to Colorado over the weekend, but their offense has been fire. Their pitchers have been pretty much fire, and I think their bullpen's going to finally turn it around a bit here too. So, got them. This is the highest I've had them. If it wasn't for the obvious leftover, they'd be higher. But I think the division might be out of reach, keeping them a little bit on their toes back there. Number 4, I have the A's. I got questioned about where I had them last week. They had the best record, yada, yada, yada. The real thing is they haven't been tested too much this season. I think when we did the power rankings last week, they'd only played 3 games against above 500 teams. So, sure, they've got a really great record. They're beating the teams they should. So I'm waiting for them to come back from this COVID thing. Hopefully everyone's okay. It's a really small incident. We don't know at this time. But waiting to come back. If they come back, they fall flat, they could fall down pretty quick in my point of view. This is as high as I got them right now until they prove that they can hang with the Dodgers. They can hang with the Astros. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of other teams that are going to test them at this point. It's pretty spread out, right? So to me, that's holding them back. San Fran, they sweep them or something, right? Number 3, some people are going to think I'm crazy. The Indians. I'm not crazy. They're getting the wins. 1 run different, 2 runs different. Their closers, the relief pitchers, their starters are all amazing and solid so far. And they're winning the tight games, and they're winning in the extras, and they're battle tested. I think they're the best team in the Central. The offense will come around. I feel it. I watch this team on the regular. I think they're stronger, and they're more prepared for the rest. Number 2, I got the Tampa Bay Rays, and how do I not have the Tampa Bay Rays? I think they've won 5 in a row again. 8 of 10, 9 of 10, something. They're just been on fire. They're the team that takes care of the Yankees. They're the team that takes care of the Blue Jays. They just win series after series after series. And I can't hold anything against them. If it wasn't for this team right here, they'd be number 1. And that team being the Dodgers, of course. Dodgers are just solid, consistent, winning series, winning games, hammering opponents. A combination of A's, Dodgers, and Padres, it's the reason the rest of these West teams are not doing well. But yeah, that's trade deadline, power rankings day. I don't have any trade deadline news, to be honest. Clevenger's the biggest thing left, but apparently they're asking too much. Don't think that it's going to be too much of an active, because do people really want to go crazy on such a short season? Playoffs are such a wild card, that first round. That's the only thing that's going to stop the Dodgers from winning and going deep in this playoffs. Is that first series, best of 3. I really think anything can happen. So that's it. That's the power rankings. Jackie Robinson Day weekend, trade deadline weekend, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me that my picks are awful, and give me something that you agree with maybe too as well. Take care.